Bene's Bloody Bits.
Welcome to another Monday of Bene's Bloody Bits. I'm Jason Bene. He's Malcolm Harvey. Malcolm is not feeling great. He doesn't know what he has, but luckily his cooties will stay right where he's at, and it's not going to affect us. How are you, man?
Sick, but luckily I'm on the other side of a computer, and this is basically resting, really. You know, it's like I was thinking beforehand, you know, it's no different than sitting and talking to the wife, really. So, except I get to talk about movies. So, I need to go do that.
You're not going to be the ghost in the machine.
No.
But anyways, this is, we haven't done one of these in a little bit, and I wanted to visit to Where's the Blu-ray, which is basically movies that have never been on Blu-ray, or they've been on Blu-ray and the quality's not good. They're lacking extra features, so they almost don't count. And I did look up Ghost in the Machine, my first pick, and there is a overseas release of it.
German?
I believe you're right. Yeah, it doesn't have a ton of extras or anything, and I feel like it needs like a Vinegar Syndrome, a Scream Factory, Arrow Video, Region 2 would be great. I always like technological terror, and this is a 1993 film. It's called Ghost in the Machine. It's from Rachel Talalay, who also directed Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. And I just liked it. You know, a killer gets into a car wreck. He ends up dying, and his spirit ends up going into the computer and goes after this family. And the mom is Karen Allen from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Ooh.
The effects are dated. It came out in 1993. So if you go back and watch it, it's not going to blow you away with the computer effects. But I always dug like this era of digital terror or technological terror. Like Brett Leonard did a couple films, The Lawnmower Man, which was really cool, Virtuosity with Denzel Washington. So this kind of fits that mold. Unfortunately, it's a Fox film, which means it's now owned by Disney, which means the chances of any boutique label getting a hold of it are very slim. I know Anchor Bay put it out on DVD probably 20 years ago. But anyways, as far as my first pick is Ghost in the Machine. Have you ever seen it, heard of it?
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it. But I've seen a lot of films that are in the same style, like Phantom Menace, which came out in, I think, 2008. Many like that. I mean, it's like the Tales from the Dark Side episode where the kid dies and ends up in the computer, except without the death.
Yeah, it's a very simple premise, but it works. I like all that technological terror, even if it's more recent to do with the internet, like Unfriended or Unfriended 2. What's enjoyable is we could turn off our computers and our cell phones and not use them, but we're so addicted to our technology. You think when you're watching one of these movies, just turn off your computer. Yeah, try turning off your computer or your cell phone and see how long you would last, right? You wouldn't get very far because it's kind of part of who we are. But anyways, that's my first pick, Ghost in the Machine. Let's go.
Hey, George.
Malcolm's got going on for us.
Let's see, what one did you pick? Oh, we've got Full-Time Killer. This is directed by Johnny To, who's probably one of the greatest Hong Kong action thriller directors ever. And it stars Andy Lau, and it stars Simon Yam, and I think it's Kelly Chin or Lin, one of them. And the other guy, I can never remember his name. But this is such a great movie because basically the Japanese guy in it, I can't remember his name. He basically is the top assassin in the world. And he ends up getting conflicted with Andy Lau's character, who's the second best contract killer in the world. And he's constantly calling him out and killing people and going after him, and end up mixed up between with this girl in the middle. And it's got some fantastic shots. Simon Yam's a police officer in it. And it's just such a beautifully well-shot movie. Andy Lau's character has epilepsy. So there's moments where, for instance, he's escaping from the police and he goes down the train station. And when the train goes by, he has like epileptic fits, which is quite, you know, quite clever for the movie, because there's a bit at the end where you're like, hold on a minute, he couldn't have survived this because of something that happens. Basically, fireworks going off. But it's a well shot movie. It's actually one of those films that came out in the days where I was renting from Blockbuster. So I would watch the DVD, and it still hasn't got a Blu-ray, which is gobsmacking because it's one of the best ones he's done.
I just want to say, movie Palace of Blood, I see your comments. I'm going to get to those toward the end. I kind of have some rebuttals for most of those titles. Some of them I know what's going on with them, so I haven't ignored you. I just want to let you know. This artwork, is this influenced by John Woo the Killer? Is it kind of that film?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's kind of like that, except John Woo's the Killer really is a policeman versus assassin, except in that obviously end up friends, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
So this,
You know?
do you own the DVD of this, or?
Yes, I do.
But
I
it's
own the
one
DVD.
but you would love to see an upgrade. I mean, I think it sounds like these Asian films are coming out so quick that I think it's a matter of time before somebody puts
It
it
should
out.
do. There's a great bit in it where basically Andy Lau's character wears a Ronald Reagan mask and commits an assassination and dances in it. It's such a great moment. And he goes into the video rental store with different presidents' masks on when he's trying to help the girl.
Yeah. All right. So that's pick number 1 for Malcolm. Okay. Downrange is one of the reasons about 3 or 4 years ago I first got Shudder. I like the director. It's Ryuya Kitamura, who popped up in, one of my picks for the best horror films of the 2000s with Midnight Meat Train. This film is so hard to watch, but it's so great. The plot basically is a bunch of friends are in their car. They're driving out in the middle of nowhere, and their tire pops, and so they go to deal with it and fix it. And one by one, they start getting picked off by a sniper, by an active shooter. So you realize that their tire popping wasn't by accident. The guy basically targeted them. And without saying too much, this movie doesn't over-explain motive. It doesn't say who this guy is, why he's doing it. He's just taking these people out. And Kitamura does not flinch when it comes to just showing graphic violence. And as an American, I think more than anybody else, this movie is difficult to watch because active shooters have become so normal in our society, whether it's a movie theater, a church, a wedding, anywhere. So this movie, while I absolutely recommend it, is a difficult watch. But I really think it's probably this came out in the 2020, I believe. So of this decade so far, it's easily one of the best horror films. I think the good news is, as far as availability, since it's Shudder, and Shudder is a partner label with OCN Distribution, it's a matter of time before this gets put out through, the Vinegar Syndrome website. I actually wouldn't be surprised if it comes out in the next 6 months. And I will make sure I'm up at 9 o'clock in the morning, because I probably will only have 1,000 slipcovers and will be out of stock in like 4 hours. This movie, masterpiece, but very difficult to watch. It's not a feel-good film, but it is a great one.
Have you seen Tower Block, the British sniper movie, where he's shooting them in the block? Like he's sniping them from the block across the road. It's a really good movie. You should check it out.
And the ironic thing is, Uwe Boll is not known from great films, but the one film that I did enjoy from him was called Rampage, which was very similar, where the guy's got the Kevlar outfit, which basically makes him almost practically bulletproof, and he goes on a shooting spree. I actually caught that at American Film Market in Santa Monica, California, probably more than a decade ago. And the funny thing is, the guy that sat next to me to the left was Tony Timpone, who at the time was the editor of Fangoria. So I got to talk to him. But anyways, Downrange is absolutely vicious, but amazing film. But proceed with caution.
Tower Block over in America is released, I believe, by Shout Factory.
But another one of those very difficult films to watch.
Oh, it's not too bad.
This one is coming out in the Disney Family Bundle. Exactly. So anyways, Downrange, absolutely amazing film. Let's go to Malcolm's next one. Sorry, I couldn't get a better image, but I think we got the point. This looks like the artwork of the last film, but it's not the last film. Does it? Do you recognize which one this is? I want to say it was a one-word title.
You must know what it's called.
Yeah, I think that's the one it is. Because I'll double check the artwork for the other three are boom, boom, boom. So yeah, there you go.
Oh, Score.
That's it.
It's Score, which is a Japanese movie, and basically it's a better version of Reservoir Dogs. So they start off by robbing a jewelry store, and they're supposed to be meeting up with the boss at this warehouse that's basically been closed down. Like it's warehouse / factory. And it starts off with them just arguing, just being there. Then you've got this Bonnie and Clyde style couple who also rob people, and they notice one of the guys who's trying to do something, so they decide to go and do it. So they get involved, and then unlike Reservoir Dogs, it becomes like this massive shootout, and you get people getting shot in the guts and walking around. You've got blood spurting everywhere, people riding down the stairs, and because it's in Japanese, it's like even more vicious the way they're kicking and talking to each other, they're screaming. And the guy on the cover, his name is Chase. And he's basically this this greatest faith guy. And he's constantly trying to figure out what's going on. And he's constantly people trying to set him up. The boss eventually turns up. And it basically just becomes this massive fest of blood and gunplay. And it's just a really good movie. They did make a sequel called Score 2, which also isn't on Blu-ray. And basically returns in that. But it's only in that for a little bit. So it's a really good Japanese action movie. I feel a lot of people need to check out. And I think it needs a good Blu-ray because the DVD is very, very dated now. Because it came out in 1995.
I was just going to say the first two pics are 90s films, correct?
I believe Full-Time Killer came out in 2001 or maybe even late 90s or 2001. This one came out in 1995.
Okay, so again, you own this on DVD. You want to upgrade?
Yes. Yes.
All right, on to my next pick. Kandisha. This is another Shudder exclusive. So like I was saying on Downrange, expect this probably in the next year to come out through OCN distribution through the Vinegar Syndrome website. This also harks back to another one of the directors of Inside, which is my favorite horror film of the 2000s. But this is kind of like their version of Candyman, but it's got a Moroccan twist to it. And the whole setting is very much like in the ghetto. So it's like Cabrini Green in Candyman, right? A lot of graffiti, a little bit of a rougher neighborhood. And this girl seeks revenge on somebody, and they summon this spirit of an evil woman. You know, kind of a la Candyman, say his name 5 times. So you see the connection.
Bloody
right?
Mary, all that stuff, yeah.
But it's totally vicious, super gory. It just aesthetically looks different because of where it's shot and the filmmakers. It's kind of like like I said, it's a Moroccan female spirit. So kind of I don't know if it's like a djinn on that style, but again, this is one of the reasons I signed up for Shudder when I did. It was movies like Downrange, Kandisha. Some of their other titles didn't keep me interested. It was these films that were like, I'm not sure if they were true original Shudders or they were shot overseas or whatever, and they acquired the rights to them. But this movie, I know it's going to happen on Blu-ray, so it kind of makes me happy. Unlike Ghost in the Machine, who knows if it will ever happen. But
I feel like this could have a beautiful slipcover as well.
Yeah, I really think by the end of the year, Downrange and Kandisha are going to come out. Shudder has already put out some newer films that came out after this, like A Wounded Fawn. All the titles have done well because, unfortunately, OCN's done the FOMO with the slipcovers, and this is going to have a beautiful slipcover when it comes. So will Downrange. They'll probably do Elevator Game, which was on my list, but decided to keep it off for this time. But have you seen Kandisha?
No, I haven't, but I've seen Elevator Game, and it was appalling.
Okay, Elevator Games are falling, but this one
It's
is
horrendous. But I
okay.
haven't seen this one.
Now this is actually a very good film. It's not going to be one that's on the lips of most people that subscribe to Shudder. Just a sneak preview. Malcolm and I have a next Monday. We're going to have a lot to say about a certain Shudder show or program that's very popular that might not make people happy, but we're here to speak our minds and our opinion. And we're going to talk about The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. And let's just say we're not big fans. And we're going to leave it at that tease. And we're going to move on to Malcolm's next pick and make that real quick.
About Shudder, what also about Shudder is if you ain't a subscriber over here, a lot of the movies are not actually released here on DVD. So sometimes you just can't tell. Do you know what I mean? Like that one, it's not released over here.
When I pulled this artwork, I was like, okay, 2 hot women on the cover, a gun. I see a theme. All your picks have guns on the artwork. Go ahead.
Okay, so Naked Killer, probably the greatest category 3 film of all time. It was directed by Wong Jing, or if people want to get, probably it's Jing Wong, because they always say it the other way around over here. So it stars Ching Mo Yor, it stars Simon Yam, it stars Carrie Neg and Ching Mo Yor, the 2 women on the cover. Interesting quick fact, Ching Mo Yor, the one who's naked, was my first, person.
First wank? Your first wank person?
She was my first wank person. To this day, I'm still in love with the woman. So this film basically starts off, and Ching Mo Yor plays Kitty, who's this girl who basically gets trained as an assassin. She falls in love with Son Yam, who's a police officer, and it becomes that deadly thing. Well, Carrie Neg and her lesbian lover, who I've got to say, it's a great pair on her, by the way. She, because there's this whole music scene where Simon Yam and Jimmy character Key have sex, and Carrie Neg's watching it from a sniper rifle, and she gets so excited, she starts having sex with her lesbian lover. But they get thingy. Kay gets taught by an older woman who also taught Carrie Neg's character, and they all end up going against each other at the end. The assassins are brilliant. The score is brilliant. The cinematography is beautiful. It really brings out the beauty of the women. It's bloody. There's horrible violence in it, like a man's testicles being ripped off. There's all sorts of things, right? And this is one of the great ones out of it. But I feel calls such a. This came out in 1992 as well, by the way. So it was quite close to the 80s in that sense. And yeah, there was a lot of movies that came out after this that tried to replicate it, which didn't do as good, but also had some great moments in them, but they just could never hit the highs of Naked Killer. I have no idea why this isn't on Blu-ray, since it's the best category 3 film of all time. In this sense, the word, because most people say Untold Story and Ebola Syndrome, but when you classify assassins and stuff, this is the top one. It also started the whole movie series, which then went on for like 5 movies with a different title, with Simon Yam and Ching Mo Yor, called By an Angel, which is, I guess I should say, great By an Angel series, which lasted 6 movies, except they had different people in each one.
I mean, speaking of, category 3 and Ebola Syndrome, when that came out with my subscription, I was the happiest collector in the world. That one with the Rene Cardona collection, I was just like, man, that's why you subscribe, man. But before I forget, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It helps. It makes a difference. The algorithm's all about it. Yeah. So this is the third movie I've never seen. I don't think I actually seen any of the 5 film you recommended. But this is category 3 based off of the violence, correct?
Yes,
Got it.
a lot of us. I would expect this. I would have expected Vinegar Syndrome to release this, but there must be a reason why it's not been released on Blu. It must be a copyright issue.
Can't remember it, but I have seen it. Naked Killer. It's a good film. Malk, I thought your first wank was Whoopi Goldberg and Sister Act. No, that was his second wank.
That was my second wank, actually,
Okay.
and it wasn't that one. It was 8 Ball, the one where she plays the pool player.
Okay, here's my 4th pick. Freaked. Man, I should have never sold the DVD copy of this that was put out with Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay was finally onto something. Slipcovers didn't become a thing till years later, but remember how when Invisible Maniac came out, they were teasing this slipcover, and it was called Translucent, so kind of see-through, like Invisible Maniac. The original Freak DVD, of all things, had this really great translucent slipcover with Randy Quaid on it. I made the error of trading it in, like I did a lot of my DVDs, thinking, okay, a Blu-ray is going to happen. Well, just like Ghost in the Machine, this is a 20th Century Fox film, which means it's now owned by Disney, which means a Blu-ray is probably never going to happen unless Disney gets off their ass and puts it out. But this, just the cast, you got half of Bill and Ted, Alex Winter, you got Brooke Shields, Randy Quaid, Mr. T, and it's kind of like, imagine Todd Browning's Freaks, but we're in the 90s. So instead of a black and white film, it's colorful.
Yeah.
All the makeup effects by Steve Johnson are great. Every freak looks different. There's even like a part in the movie where they do claymation, and basically, Randy Quaid's this mad scientist and he has all these freaks, and it's just a totally unique film. Yeah. I don't think there's many films like it. I kicked myself for selling the DVD. Perhaps overseas rights will be different, and I could see maybe an Arrow putting out a Blu-ray of this, if anything. It's a favorite. It's a 90s. It's campy. It's underseen. It's underrated. It's one of my favorites.
It's top of most people's Vinegar Syndrome list.
Yeah, I honestly think because of it's with Disney, it's going to happen overseas. Makes me think of Arrow, maybe somebody like Indicator or something like that. But just look at this artwork, which is, beautiful. I found it. It's Freak Landisha or Landia, which is actually better than the artwork for the Freaks. You can see some of the makeup effects on it. And yeah, kind of like the end of like right about before CGI started, where makeup effects was still really heavy. And definitely like a 90s film that feels like it came out of the 80s.
It's funny, isn't it? And these films kind of just disappear. And they just don't think, because I remember this being on TV when I was younger. I remember it being on, it wasn't on the main TV, it was on one of the special stations.
Yeah.
And it was like a VHS rip style kind of thing. So it was like real cheap one. Like those movies for men style, those ones that are kind of like free. And I don't remember much about it, but I remember it being really fun. And I would like to see it again.
I don't know if they probably did this on purpose because it's a 90s film, and then Goosebumps television show came out. He looks like, what's his name from Goosebumps? The wooden dummy that's in the film.
Oh, Happy? Is that Happy?
I'm forgetting it. You know what? Feel free to look it up because I have Slappy.
Slappy. There you go.
There we go. From the television show, Slappy. From the movie. By the way, the reboot of Goosebumps on Disney Plus, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It was great. They brought back Slappy. It was really well done. I know, long live physical media, yada, yada, yada. There's nothing wrong with streaming. So anyways, on to Malcolm's next pick. And here we go.
Oh, G2 Mortal Kombat, as in with a C. Okay, G2 Mortal Kombat stars Daniel Bernhardt, James Hong, and the twins. I don't know the names, but they're in quite a few different things. They're in Wishmaster 2, you know, in the prison, those twins.
Not the Barbarian twins, right?
No, not the Barbarian twins. These were like two Asian twins, and they were like martial arts style twins. So basically, were in this. They were in Gladiator Cop, and they were in Wishmaster 2. You know, with the top dog guy. I don't know their names.
Which took place in prison, right? Part of the movie.
Yeah. They're two guys where he says, "I really wish someone beat me down," and it's them two kicking him in the face and that. Anyway, they're in this, and basically, Albert plays Alexander the Great, and Burroughs plays Genghis Khan, and 1,000 years later, they're all reborn, and he's got to fight them all. Basically, before he can get the sword back, and he had this relationship with Genghis Khan's daughter, and it's a really weird movie because it's basically Highlander, but with real war characters being kind of put into it instead. And it makes no sense because he goes to these places and he fights a guy at a kind of blood sport style thing, fights another guy in a restaurant, and at the end fights the big guy, and James Hong does his usual, and all this. And it's a really cheap movie, but for some reason I absolutely love it. And to this day, I would love to see a proper deluxe edition of this movie released because I think it's a lot of fun. You know, Vinegar Syndrome should release it, and they should do a whole behind the scenes. They should do a whole audio commentary, get Del Bernard in, because this was when he was actually a really good star instead of being these silly little villains like in John Wick 1 and that, you know, when he was actually a star.
So was this released after Paul Anderson's Mortal Kombat in 1995?
I think it was released before.
Okay.
Let me have a look.
So it's probably playing, do you
Just,
think it played off the popularity of the video game, or is that just coincidence?
No, it basically, I believe it came off of Highlander.
But,
and you got to remember at that point, Mortal Kombat was a video game. So it probably came together.
But does it have a soundtrack by Queen?
No. It did. It did come out after. Came out in 1999.
And it doesn't have a soundtrack by Queen like Highlander did, which...
Also, the other thing is Daniel Bernhard was actually in the TV series of Mortal Kombat. I believe he played Raiden.
And James Hong, who's probably, 95, 96 now? I know he recently got a star in the Walk of Fame, which was so overdue, but love that guy. I mean, he's been around forever, and he's like one of those people when he shows up in a movie, it puts you in a better mood. You're like, it's James Hong, you know. It doesn't matter if it's Big Trouble in Little China or The Vineyard, or I know didn't he do an adult film?
Like he did China Girl,
which put out by Vinegar Syndrome. So that's very.
And just in case Phil don't know, James Hong was my third rank.
Third, Malcolm had to mix it up because
I did.
There had to be an equal opportunity. Okay, I think we're coming upon my last pick. All right, this is a blind buy. I've never seen it. I've heard of it. Because it's such a music-heavy film, I'm thinking it has to be the music rights. If there was ever a film that had Vinegar Syndrome's name written on it, it's Terror on Tour. I don't know a lot about it. I did watch a trailer for it over the weekend just to kind of get, familiar with it.
This looks like it could be in a box set.
Coming out of the closet, Malcolm, LOL.
Always.
But yeah, Terror on Tour. It's just one. Anytime that Vinegar Syndrome gives a tease of what they're coming out with, and they say 80s slasher, never on disc, or early 80s, this one seems to come up. I'm thinking if the rights were in the clear, that it would be out by now. Maybe it's going to come sooner or later. But Terror on Tour, even though I've never seen it, don't know if I'm going to like it. It's actually a lot of the times these kind of films that make me the most excited. I can tell you that about an hour ago, I got my subscription to Vinegar Syndrome. So when this video is done, I will do an unboxing, but none of those films I've seen, sometimes that makes me more happier now than anything, is not just movies I love, but movies I've never seen.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you've never seen this.
I've never seen it. I've heard about it. It's kind of like legendary in the sense of when will it ever be released? Again, it's to the top of a lot of people's thing. That and Rocktober Blood, right?
Rocktober Blood is coming out through TerraVision.
Mm.
They've
I mean, those two have always been on the top of people's lists.
Well, they actually did make like 8-9 months ago when they made their like 25 movie announcement that most of them haven't been put out. Rocktober Blood is one. It probably won't look great, but at least you can own it on Blu-ray.
But will it get the deluxe treatment and be like one release for a month?
Well, eventually when you get your next shipment from TerraVision, because you are a subscriber, we can kind of do a update as a subscriber and as a fan, talk about what they haven't and have announced, because I really feel like without getting too much off track, they've kind of dropped the ball in a lot of areas.
I've got nothing. All I'm going to say about it is this for the time being. I've got nothing against TerraVision. Right? I just wish they'd release things consistently. That's all I wish. For the most part.
Just get on a better, more structured release schedule. Yeah. Okay, so Terror on Tour.
He's right, I did.
Terror on Tour is my 5th and final pick. This is your last pick.
American Yakuza.
Is that Vigo?
Yes, Vigo. I love Vigo. I love him before Aragon. After Aragon, he got a bit full of himself. I thought he was an artiste. But I like him here, where he's got those baby looks. He looks more mentally insane, like he's been locked in an asylum or something. And in this, he basically plays an undercover policeman who goes undercover and ends up becoming part of the Yakuza. He ends up friends with the main Japanese guy, which is in Blue Tiger and in the sequel of this, which technically isn't a sequel. It's kind of like another movie of American Yakuza with Michael Rooker, where it's basically the same kind of story. And it's very different, but it's the same kind, about brotherhood and them sticking together.
And that's the guy on the right? The guy on the right?
Yeah, the guy on the right. Yeah, the guy on the right. He's also in Blue Tiger, which is basically about a woman who wants revenge for a child's death. I know, because I bought all three of them together, and they would be a nice box set. And Viggo Mortensen, basically, one day the place he's working with him gets attacked by the mob. He fights back and helps them, and he ends up slowly going up the ranks a little bit. We've got Chosen from Karate Kid in there. And we've also got the Master from American Ninja and American Samurai, the bald-headed guy. Who goes,
I'm in the film? Hey, you didn't tell me that I used to be an actor. I'm in the film?
Oh, your Japanese version of you is, yes.
Yes.
I can imagine, actually, if I think about American Ninja 1, and I think about you, I can imagine going, But, it's a good film. It's a lot of fun. I really like it. Again, it's a 90s movie. And this was when Viggo Mortensen actually felt like he was, I don't know, these type of movies, even though most people forget about them, they kind of have more to them than the average big budget movie that we have today. They just feel like they've got more, more realism to a degree, even though they're not realistic. Do you know what I mean? So I would like to see this on Blu-ray. I would like to see Blue Tiger on Blu-ray, and I'd like to see American Yakuza 2 on Blu-ray in a 3-way set.
So all 5 of your picks are movies you own on DVD that you would like to see on Blu-ray.
Yes.
Well, so if anybody came in late, let's just do a recap. I'm going to do my top 5 picks of Where's the Blu-ray. Ghost of the Machine from the director of Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, Downrange, Brutal, Violent, Kandisha, Freaked, Terror on Tour, Malcolm. Malcolm's has a theme. We're talking 90s, early 2000s. A lot of bullets. There's like almost a gun on every single artwork here. But
Oh,
yeah,
assault.
that's our, where's the Blu-ray? I do want to get back to, all right, Movie Palace of Blood had a lot of comments. Okay, so let me just take these one by one. Forgot to mention Home Sweet Home. Does Vinegar Syndrome have it for the fall or not, you think? I think they do. I think it's something that I know for their October announcements in the tease, there was something about a never on disc early 80s slasher. This is a Thanksgiving slasher film with the guy Body by Jake. It's actually not very good. I'd still want to own it because I am a slasher film fan. And I think it makes sense to put out a Thanksgiving film in October. So they ship it and you get it before Thanksgiving. So yeah, I think it's coming from Vinegar Syndrome sooner or later. I think it's probably going to be in October. But we'll know for sure when October rolls around. Some other ones, Murder by Phone, the Boogeyman sequels. Yeah, I mean, Boogeyman was put out by Vinegar Syndrome, the sequels. That could be a box set. Wes Craven's Invitation to Hell is a TV film, so that might be with like a studio like Sony. What Waits
Pino would release
Below?
that.
Blood Tracks, I think that's probably coming from Vinegar Syndrome. I think that's a possible by the end of the year film, just based off the teasers they're going to give. Murder by Phone is also known as Bells. That's a film with Richard Chamberlain, which came out, I want to say 1980, which kind of plays like a little bit like a David Cronenberg type film. This guy like gets revenge on people. I believe he works for the phone company, but he's kind of has found a way to like kill people via like through the phone, through electricity. So if somebody answers the phone, like the phone will explode and they'll catch on fire, their head blows up. And story about that. I went to the Hollywood show many years ago and Richard Chamberlain was there. And I wanted to, interview him about Bells. And so I gave him my business card. At the time I wrote for Killer Film, and he was nice about it. He goes, yeah, that's the film I did with John Houseman. And I never heard back from him. I'm sure my card ended up in the trash. I know this was pre-COVID, and he was kind of hilarious because after every fan would come up, he had like antibacterial soap, probably because he knows a lot of them don't take showers and they stink, and he didn't want to be around the unwashed masses. So Murder by Phone, also known as Bells, is a great film.
Or maybe he died by a phone.
Future Kill, released on DVD by some of the founders of Vinegar Syndrome. Ghost Fever Necropolis is still with Full Moon, and Charles Band does not like to license his films that are original productions or, something Charles Band was involved with. The Vindicator.
He likes to continuously release movies like Puppet Master and all that.
And Evil Bong. Backwoods, 88, The Geek, Blood Frenzy, Ghost Chase. Ghost Chase is the one with Jill Whitlow, kind of like a sci-fi comedy. Actually, one of the first films by Rowan Emmerich, the director of Independence Day. I could see that coming out. Kind of a campy sci-fi film. Actually, the same guy, Jason Lively, they were together in Night of the Creeps. Jill Whitlow and Jason were also in this film. So they must have been shot really close to each other.
What about The Gig? Do you think television could release that?
Which one?
The Gig.
The Gig. G-I-G?
Geek. G-E-E-K.
Yeah, that sounds like something that's up their alley. Graveyard Shift, the vampire film and its sequel. Night Flyers, which is sci-fi horror, which is actually going to be, I've already picked it out as one of my upcoming.
Is Grotesque the Japanese one?
Let me see. Demon Warp is with Lionsgate, so if that doesn't come out via, the Vestron line, I picked that on one of the earlier Where's the Blu-rays? I picked that with Michelle Bauer and George Kennedy, excuse me. Graveyard Disturbance, that's got to be Severin. That's Italian horror. Isn't that Lamberto Bava? It's Lamberto Bava.
I believe so, yeah.
That'll probably be Severin. Grotesque was put out on a 4-disc DVD with Scream Factory. It was one of 4 films.
Okay, it's not the one I thought then.
It's kind of like a movie within a movie within a movie, kind of a slasher film. Yeah,
so it's basically Inception.
It's Shout Corman Library, and I think the rights maybe have left Scream Factory, so who knows? Out of the Dark, I watched that about a year ago on Tubi. Really great late 80s kind of horror thriller. Midnight Movie Massacre, Alien Space Avenger has Vinegar Syndrome written on it. Watchers 1, 3, and 4 are probably with Lionsgate. So again, it's a Corman, Lionsgate. So maybe a Vestron Video Collection. I know that Michael Felsher with Red Shirt Pictures is still working with them on quite a few titles. I wouldn't be surprised. Watchers, the original with Corey Haim, is very much on people's must-have list. But no, thank you, Movie Palace of Blood. There's a lot of recommendations. Some of them I've mentioned before. Some I've actually already banked in my brain for future. Where's the Blu-rays?
In the wank bank.
Yeah, but we do these about once a month or so. So I already have some 5 picks already lined up. Malcolm has no problem looking in his DVD collection and just throw a dart at it. And any of those movies are probably not on Blu-ray.
Sure.
Over the weekend, I watched The New Barbarians, the Lucio Fulci film, the Severin Blu-ray. Easily one of my least favorite Fulci films. I knew it wasn't going to be great. I knew it was low budget. It's kind of an action movie without action.
Yeah.
Talking,
I watched it ages ago when it came out.
Yeah, and when the action happens, they're kind of like on motorcycles, and they kind of joust each other. And I think the highlight is Fulci in his era, his peak era, but this is not a peak film by any means.
No.
You got Fred Williamson, you got Al Cliver. So yeah, I liked it for the nostalgic factor, but it's not very good. And then I watched the Kino Lorber Blu-ray of Jess Franco's Sinner, Secrets of a Nymphomaniac, and actually it played like you would think a Franco film would be. A lot of nudity, but they actually had a good story in there too, because they were reading from this girl's diary and kind of backtracking and recounting, this girl's tough life and how sex and love, whether it was with men or women, didn't really make her happy. And no, actually a well done Franco film. I recommend it. It's not overly on the close-ups because Lino Ramay is not in it, so you don't get Bush in your face for 45 minutes.
No Lino Ramay, no boy.
Which is not a bad thing, but sometimes you're like, dude, step back a little bit from the camera and actually tell a story. So that was my weekend viewing. Also, I was late to the game on Netflix. I started watching The Sandman, which is based off the DC and
the TV series, right?
Yeah, it's a Netflix series, 11 episodes. I'm 9 episodes in. I have no reference point as far as judging it on anything, and it's damn good, man. The production value, the acting, the story, basically the Sandman being the master of like dreams and nightmares and how his world gets taken away from him, how he tries to get it back. I mean, there's more to it than that. It's actually a very nuanced and very you have to stay on top of the story. Like there's a lot going on. But anyways, that's my little recommendation for streaming. I always like to balance out physical media and streaming. What did you watch this weekend?
I watched Poison Ivy 3.
Is that with Alyssa Milano or no?
No, that's number 2. This one's the one with Jamie Presley in. And boy, was she fit in that. She was bloody hot in that. Oh, dear. If anybody hasn't seen it and you want to see a nice pair and a nice round butt, you watch that movie. I actually thought it was really good. I love the fact that she's...
I have to cut you off. A nice rumper or ramper? Did she ramp you up or what?
She ramped me up all right, I tell you.
Wait, I want to... Let me get these real quick, Malcolm. Sorry to cut you off. Again, I do apologize. Do you like slasher movies? I love them. Malcolm?
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
Pick up the latest from Second Sight, your next great movie.
Your next is great. Your next just came out.
You know why I'd love to see hit Blu-ray Poverty Row B Westerns. The genre has been neglected far too long with many fascinating characters and exciting films. It's time. Westerns, sex comedies, erotic thrillers. Those are the 3 most neglected subgenres. Have you seen Alien Romulus? I do recommend watching at the cinemas. I love the movie. I did not see it. From what I've heard, it's great. A lot of people are putting it right behind Alien and Aliens. I think the one drawback that I am hearing is maybe it over there's too many nods to the prior films.
Yeah, there is.
It
Apparently,
didn't need it, and I felt like maybe Fede Alvarez, the writer-director, did it because he was just so damn happy that Ridley Scott allowed him to direct it. That happens with movies. Sometimes there's over nostalgia and kind of, if you could just make your movie, like there's a scene in Trick or Treat, the great Halloween anthology film, where the guy takes Sam, the little small Halloween candy snatching guy, they take a shotgun to him and he grows back his limbs, and the guy goes, "You got to be fucking kidding me," which is obviously a reference to John Carpenter's The Thing. Sometimes that it takes away because you're like, your movie was so great on its own that it didn't need the extra. But anyways, did you see Romulus?
No, but I've heard a lot of people say it's too many nods.
Okay, get back to where you were.
That's what most things are now. Okay, Poison Ivy 3. I watched it. It was the only one in the series I hadn't watched. And yeah, I thought she was the sexiest out of all of them. So if I had to rate them, I'd probably go 3, 1, 2, 4. Because she's so amazing in it.
I'm more of a Burnett fan, but that time, like when Drew Barrymore was in the original, that was like her peak.
Yeah,
she looked so damn good, like.
Yeah, she looked amazing in that.
Yeah, if you watch those, that's kind of when she started doing a lot of those films. Like there was one called Gun Crazy, when she started taking off her clothes, and obviously she's in her 20s, so she's of age. But I liked her because she had a figure, like her face was round. She wasn't too skinny. That was just like
she seemed more natural.
I do like that. Now, Alyssa Milano, I always liked since Who's the Boss. Always had a thing for her. So you watched that. What else did you watch? I know there had to be more than that.
Well, luckily for me, I use Letterboxd, so I can always look at and not forget. So I watched RoboCop 3 because I hadn't seen it in years, and I realised why. I love the Japanese samurai robots, but the rest of it just feels like it should have been a kids' TV special. I watched Deep Blue Sea 3.
3 was better than I expected. It was much better.
Yes, 3 was amazing. Compared to number 2, number 3 was incredible.
2 and 3 were direct-to-video. 2 wasn't good, and it's actually directed by somebody I know, Darren Scott, who produced Tales from the Hood, but it wasn't his best film. 3, actually, it's not as good as the first film. It doesn't have that budget, but it's actually really well done. The girl is really like goes mano a mano and out there in the sea, and it's actually really well done for a director.
I have to be honest, the lead woman in it, her name was Tanya Renaud. She did the story, the true story on the Jodi Arias murder, where she kills the boyfriend who doesn't want her. So I was like, oh, I might watch that because I like that story about a woman who gets obsessed with her boyfriend who broke up with her and stabbed him and killed him in the shower. So when I realized she was in that as a blonde as well, I was like, oh, hello. But yeah, Deep Blue Sea 3, incredible compared to the second one. The second one bored me to tears. But the third one, I've always loved the first one. The first one's a classic. So I've always loved that. Let's see, what else did I watch? I watched Paranormal Activity 4 and Ghost Dimension. I'm not even going to talk about them because nothing bloody happens in them for most of the time. And I watched Regan, or Regan, if you want to call it that. I watched Regan, which is basically the Sweeney with John Ford and Dennis Waterman. So I watched them, and then I watched eight Hong Kong movies between them as well. So
Deep Blue Sea is the one with Paul Walker. No, it's with Thomas Jane. And it's got LL Cool J, Samuel L. Jackson with one of the greatest death scenes ever because it's totally unexpected. He's making his speech and chomp. Also, going back to RoboCop 3, that was directed by Fred Decker, who directed Night of the Creeps and the Monster Squad. I want to say it's his last film that he ever directed theatrically.
Possible.
he didn't do a lot. He did an episode of Tales from the Crypt that was really good. I really wish he would have directed more. It's the third film is
No, he's not in it.
no, because Paul Walker passed away before the third film was made. I don't think
His
Paul
third film
Walker.
was made in 2020.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I do enjoy Deep Blue Sea 3. Would you recommend, Malcolm, would you recommend My Secret Valentine from your letterbox list?
No, actually, I'd actually, if you really want a recommendation, Love on the Radio. That one was far superior to My Secret Valentine. And the joke is in that is that they're both Hallmark movies. So, yes, I also watched Hallmark movies because I have now the true story, I have a collection of over 500 Hallmark movies.
Is that for Donna or is that for you or for both of you?
It started off for me.
Be truthful.
It started off for me, but then what happened was me and Donna started watching them, not always together. She does watch stuff on the computer sometimes because we watch in different rooms at different times. So it ended up, I started off with basically the detective ones like Murder, She Baked and all this. And then Donna went, oh, there's other ones. What about trying some romance ones? That's how it ended up starting. Do I enjoy them? Yeah, I love them. I actually think they're great. To me, they're like horror movies in the sense of, but if you're in the mood for it, you can just sit there and watch them. So, yeah, Secret Valentine is really fun, but Love on the Radio is where it's at. That's where I would go because that film felt so realistic compared to most Hallmark movies. So,
When I created the thumbnail for this video, Movie Palace of Blood had asked about a few films, and one of them that he was wanting was Rumpelstiltskin. That's actually with TerraVision, and they're going to put it out in 4K. I don't know when, but they have that film via Paramount. So there's a little juicy nugget. Maybe it'll come out this year. But anyways, hopefully TerraVision gets their shit together and starts.
Well, you know, like I said, TerraVision, I've got no issues with them. Not really. I mean, yeah, there's things I don't like. I don't like about every label in their own way. But my biggest problem with TerraVision is I just want to, as someone who's got like 110 subscriptions left or whatever it is around that, seeing one announcement after 2 months and hearing, oh, we're making another one a month from now, it's painful as someone who's subscribed because you want stuff to come in. And that's what I like about Vinegar Syndicate. What I like about Radiance. I know every month I'm going to get maybe 4 or 5 titles turn up,
And that's unfortunate because they do vinyl as well. So maybe they fall behind. And I know you can care less about the vinyl. You want the movies. But, when they come out with an announcement and it's just like a Return of the Living Dead Part 2 in vinyl, you're like, Can I get the next Blu-ray announcement? But
so, the other thing as well is when Brad went on live and he said about the whole restoration thing, about how, they feel like the old Kung Fu films didn't need full restorations, because they could make them better, but they look great as they are with the first, whatever. People can see the videos on the television thing. I watched An Old Master and I was like, why didn't they go through this again? It's not bad, but you got all these fuzzy bits, you got all these bits. But hearing that kind of made me feel a bit bad about it. And maybe I'm in the wrong on that. Maybe, but to me, it is in the blue.
Okay.
You're thinking in
George,
the blue, yeah.
The reason you got mixed up is that movie has a great underwater scene with Paul Walker and Jessica Alba where she's got a thong up the booty. So I understand the confusion. You got you were booty ties, so you forgot.
Jessica Alba back then was stunning.
My big thing with I think it was great he did the video, but I don't like the fact that you can't do videos to talk about what's going on, but when somebody calls you out on picture quality and restoration, how quickly you're able to get on a video by yourself and defend it for 30, 45 minutes. Whereas even if it's a soft announcement, even if it's how hard is it for somebody to take the slipcover of something that is coming out, get on a video with someone like me and you. Yeah. I could put the slipcover behind my head here and give the visual aid and make it something really cool. I just think
Well, in that video, he said they had like 14 or 15 movies done. Right? Where are they? Where are they being announced? Because even if you're not going to be, if you're not going to release something for like a month, you can still mention it and say, oh, they're going to be released this time. Because, people go on, because they posted on Facebook about it, now's the best time to subscribe because of Frogman, right?
Is it Frogman? Yeah, let me get worked up over this movie I've never heard of. It's a shot on video new film. The chances of it being watchable are not very good. Sorry, to say that.
But the problem with it is one title being announced wouldn't encourage me to sub, because I'd be like, okay, when's the next one? Going from 4 or 5 titles being shipped every month to 2 months to becoming 3 months before you possibly have one. And I'm not going to want them to send me just one, because I'm going to have to, because the shipping and everything. So I might have to wait like 2-3 extra months before I go, okay, send them all to me. Do you see what I mean? That's the stuff that annoys me.
Well, Malcolm, save your venom, because we will do a video on TerrorVision or Terrible Vision, whatever you want to call them, because them and along with Cauldron have kind of like dropped the ball as far as getting these things out. Next Monday, I talked about this earlier. Malcolm and I are going to be talking about The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. Our thoughts. Be open-minded to the video. We're going to be, I'm very much of, you should be able to speak your mind, pro or con, whether you like something, as long as you do it in a structured way. It's, it's education, it's educated opinion, but it doesn't have to agree with the mass out there of the quote unquote mutant fam, whatever. I have my opinions. I've been thinking about this video for a while. Thought maybe I shouldn't do it because I'd lose subscribers, but that's not the reason to do a YouTube channel. It's for subscribers, to be honest with you. It's to...
Well, you won't lose subscribers, and I'll tell you why. Because they're all thanks to me. They love me.
Hey, my thing is we should be able to speak about whatever we want. And this is the topic. And so we'll talk Shudder. We'll talk, Joe Bob.
I can say a lot of negative things about Shudder.
Monster Vision, Shudder, Last Drive-In, Darcy the Mail Girl. There's a lot of things to discuss, but that will be up. I'll have the thumbnail and the video preview up. We'll be on next Monday. Are we going to do 2 o'clock?
Yeah, we'll do 2 o'clock.
We'll do 2 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for commenting and watching. I'm going to go. Malcolm's not feeling well. We need to let him rest, and we will talk to you guys soon. And have a good day. Thanks, everybody.